Hello and welcome to News Liga Sports. My name is Moses Echodo, and of course, we've really been away for quite some time, but I'm happy to know that many of you are still safe, staying home, and ensuring that you are paying attention to all the guidelines that have been issued by that is the World Health Organization, but also by the different ministries of health that you align to. Of course, for us here at Newsliber, it's all about the sports that we bring to you. But like I keep saying, if you go to newsliber.com, that's at www.newsliber.com, you'll be able to find all the stories, tech, business, fashion, tourism. I mean, anything that you want to read about, economics and all that stuff. So you'll be able to find it at newsliber.com. So without wasting time, let's get to the gist of business. La Liga is coming back for all of you football lovers out there. We recently saw the German Bundesliga return, and quite a success it has been. With there was scare that probably would have a robust outbreak of the coronavirus, but it seems that the German Football Association has been able to manage that is the pandemic with all the rigorous testing as they had promised. They carry out tests every 24 48 hours before the games, which has helped for clubs to know which players are safe and which players are not safe at the end of the day. But of course, also on the other aspect that we probably need to highlight on is the fact that different players have also tried to keep within the elements of safety. But before we get to the Spanish La Liga and all, what I want to talk about is how all these different sporting disciplines and all the sports stars have embraced the whole all black lives matter. Because we've seen ever since the passing on of George Lloyd rather, we've seen tremendous protests that have gone around in the world, and different sporting personalities talk about Michael Jordan in basketball, the likes of LeBron James, the likes of Trey Young. We've seen all of them coming in. Steph Curry have all come in to highlight the issue of racism that has actually been happening in America, but across the world, really. But then, of course, we've seen also in boxing. We recently saw that is Anthony Joshua coming out and leading a protest in London. And then we've seen Lewis Hamilton from Formula One as well coming in and speaking so much about racism and all that's happening. So there's really been a massive change of things around the world of sport. But we've seen that different sporting personalities have come out and said, listen, we have to talk about this. We are affected by it. We saw Marcus Rashford from Manchester United talk about racism. We saw Paul Pogba as well coming out to speak. We saw Raheem Sterling as well coming out with a very, very big message. Nigerio Coca, for those of you who don't remember, him was at West Ham, and of course I think he was also at Bolton Wanderers. Quite a phenomenal midfielder he was, and he came and talked about how there is need to see more black coaches entering into the system of football at the top level, but also administrators, because they know how best to communicate the elements of racism. Can sports be able to achieve eradicating racism? Probably that's a discussion that we'll need to hold in the long in a much diverse situation where we have different people coming in to offer different opinions. But I, for one, I feel that sports has something that it can do. But we also know that for the longest time, football, particularly FIFA, under their no racism campaign, have tried to do a lot in regards to racism. But we've also seen how racism has continuously gone on to happen in these countries. We've seen in Italy, we've seen some cases in England as well. So it's not going to be something that's going to get out of the system quite easily. But it's if the journey has begun, then probably that is where the different sporting disciplines now have to come and merge together and come up with a very united front in order to fight racism. But all in all, football is back in Spain as well. Like I said, in Germany to go to return, we've seen the likes of Borussia Dortmund, we've seen the likes of Schalke 04, we've seen Bayern Munich, RB Leipzig, all coming out with statements in regards to all Black Lives Matter. And we hope to see what will happen in England. We saw, different teams taking the knee. We saw Chelsea, we saw Liverpool, everyone trying to put up a message. But in Spain, we've seen Real Madrid Patrick Kapembe said, players, took the knee as well to stand together with what's happening in the US. And hopefully that message can be carried on to the game of play, but then also we'll be able to see more happening. And like I said, football is back in Spain. We start with Real Madrid. First and foremost, Real Madrid are planning not to have all their games played at that is the Santiago Bernabeu. What they are planning to do is to utilize their academy or training pitches as what they will be using to host their games. Probably what they are looking at is to try and save up on all the costs that come with hosting these games at home, and more so at a time when you don't have gate collections per se. So it's a question of now how will the advertising of all the different sponsors happen, because we know of what importance the sponsorship money is for these clubs, and for Real Madrid, who always are vying to be the most or the wealthiest club in the world. I'm very sure that they are going to see how best to ensure that all this is is taken into account and is delivered on the game of day. But looking at the table standings at the moment, Barcelona are leading. You have Real Madrid in second. I remember Real Madrid in that game that they lost to that is Real Betis. It meant that they dropped out, and the game that they played against Real Betis, and you can see that it had a way in which it affected them. Of course, the Sevilla coming in third, Real Sociedad coming in fourth. Very amazing for Real Sociedad, because we remember quite a couple of seasons ago they were battling with relegation, but now are into fourth position, meaning that next season they could find themselves in the Champions League, or worst of definitely Champions League for them. For Getafe, they come in fifth, but surprisingly, Atletico Madrid find themselves in sixth, while Valencia are in seventh position. So a lot that's going to happen. A lot of changes have happened in the Spanish La Liga. Of course, at the top, where it's Real Madrid and Barcelona, those two have always really been at the forefront of fighting each other for the title. We've always thought that it was just a two-team competition, but we saw Atletico Madrid come in, shook the table a little bit, and brought a little bit of confusion in there. But the most important thing about this all is that we've seen there's a tremendous change. When you see Real Sociedad coming into fourth position, when you see Sevilla getting into third position, trying to get back into the Champions League, and then you're seeing Getafe as well coming into fifth position, then definitely is an incredible change. Of course, at the bottom of the table is where things are not quite probably as cozy. Espanyol and Real Mallorca find themselves in the relegation battle. I'm sure that is something that they are not really used to. Of course, for Mallorca, we knew that they have been struggling, but getting into there is something that we had not anticipated in a very long period of time. But nonetheless, we also very much know that there are fixtures that are coming, and most importantly, the one that everyone is looking at is Mallorca versus Barcelona. But like I've told you, Barcelona already are coming to this game with a massive advantage. In the last 16 times these teams have faced each other, Barcelona have won 13 times, Mallorca have won twice and only drawn one. So, statement of intent, massive for Barcelona, definitely a huge prospect for them. Beat Mallorca, keep at the top of the table, lose or drop a point against Mallorca, and you're opening a lot of chances for Madrid, who play their game a day after that is Barcelona have played theirs. Of course, the other game, the first game that will usher us in this week on Thursday, is going to be Sevilla versus Real Betis. These two have played games, and that is Sevilla have won 2 games, have lost only 1, and that is Real Betis have won only 1. So there's a bit of tough pulling between those two teams. But all in all, that is Sevilla last beat Osasuna in the game that they played. They beat Getafe as well. But for Real Betis, they beat Real Madrid in a game that brought Real Madrid out of the first position and allowed Barcelona to get back onto the table, on top of the table. And then, of course, they lost to Valencia in the last 2 fixtures that they had in the La Liga. Of course, the next game it's going to be Athletic Bilbao versus Atletico de Madrid, an interesting fixture. Won 3 games for Athletic Bilbao. Atletico Madrid have also won 3 games and drawn 6 in the last 6 fixtures that these two teams have played in. That is La Liga, and then for Atletico Madrid they have only lost 3 games. So not quite the best of scenarios both sides offer, but one thing is for sure that they both have 3 wins in them in the last 6 fixtures. Could they find themselves in a rather interesting scenario where they could, share the spoils at the end of the day? Wait and see. But one thing that we know is that for this game, this is going to be a mouth-watering cracker because Atletico Madrid are standing in fourth, rather in sixth position, while Athletic Bilbao are standing in 10th position. So it's a question of number 6 versus number 10. Who wants to go for Europa? Atletico Madrid, will they drop the ball and allow Atletico Bilbao get back into the conversation? Wait and see. But that is what is happening in that fixture. And of course, my other pick of the bunch is going to be Real Madrid versus Eibar. Real Madrid lost to Real Betis and Levante in their last 6 fixtures, and then they beat up on Barcelona in that El Clasico. For Eibar, they lost to that is Sociedad and of course Mallorca. And like I said, at the table standing, Eibar are currently seated at 16th position in the log. So, can Real Madrid afford to drop the ball? I don't think so. I know that Zinedine Zidane now having Gareth Bale back into play, having Eden Hazard looking really fit. You have Marco Asensio as well, really fit. The question is, which player is he going to go with? Of course, we know that Casemiro is always going to sit in that midfield, and then of course you have Toni Kroos as well, and they have gotten that important 2 months rest. So it's going to be interesting how the last games are going to pan out for these teams. Remember, we're going into game 28, and then after that, we have to go into probably we're going to go into another incredible 10 games run. So remember, it's 11 games to play for, and in all that, those are 33 points that have to be played for. What will happen? Wait to see. But you know what? Keep us informed on what you think. Share with us your thoughts on what you think will happen in the first game when La Liga does return this very week on Thursday. So again, it's me, Moses Echodu, and the entire team at News Liban was saying, just follow us on Facebook, Newsliber, and then of course on Twitter, it's Newsliber UG, and be able to get all the stories. You can also find us on Newsliber Sports for all your sporting stories. It's me, Moses Echodu, and the entire team at Newsliber was saying thank you so much, peace and love.